The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is brought to you by Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like those other energy drinks have. They also have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. W's products are made in the USA in an FDA inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. All of the flavors are unique and custom made by W, and you'll never taste our taste anywhere else. The best part about it is they're affordable. W's drinks come out to about $1 per drink, much cheaper than Starbucks or any of those canned energy drinks. To learn more, visit w.gg.com/discount/MRTipton33 and place your order today. Use promo code MrTipton33 and save today. W Energy, be better. Are you a fellow car guy? I have a 2008 Ford Mustang GT convertible, and nothing makes me happier in that car than when it's nice and clean. And you know who helps me get there? RevAutoCarCare.com. They help me get that pony looking as nice and shiny and ready for any of the car meetups that are all around the great city of El Paso. Spoil your car and go to RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton and view all the inventory they have and find out what works for you to help make your ride shine. RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton. Use promo code Tipton33 at checkout to save 15%. We all know there's hundreds of betting sites out there, but don't be fooled. Some sites are legal in some states only. Some sites pay in Bitcoin, and some sites have even been hacked. BetUS, however, has been in business for over 30 years. Future bets are paying out in the thousands, and if you act right now, you can still bet on the biggest games in sports. Visit BetUS.com, or you can click the link at nessp.info. BetUS, check it out and bet responsibly. Welcome back to the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live on Roku via National Streaming Sports. Shout out to our friends over at National Streaming Sports. And of course, we are live on YouTube, on X, and on Facebook, all over the places where you can find the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. A lot of stuff going on in the world of sports. I got to make sure that there are things that are working right now. They are all working. Hopefully, let's see. Yes, they are. So we're happy with that. Things are working the way that they should be. I'm a happy guy. Got my guy Tommy Cananza tuned in right now saying good morning, Tip. Good morning to you, Tommy. Hope that all of y'all are doing well so far today. It is too damn early. Sometimes I feel that way. It's too damn early for me to have to do these shenanigans. But then I can't complain about what it is that I do. Super lucky, super blessed to be able to do the things it is that I'm doing. So later on today, we're going to talk about Justin Turner of the Seattle Mariners, former Seattle Mariners, saying something that I don't think players get to say about teams. And then, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of sports. Hockey, unbreakable records. We're talking about these things, unbreakable records, because of what we saw with LeBron James getting to 50,000 points, collective 50,000 points. What Alex Ovechkin is doing right now, where he's 9 goals away from tying Wayne Gretzky, and other what look to be unbreakable records. But we're going to start with a story that I didn't think I was going to wake up and see, which is that Joey Bosa was released by the LA Chargers. A lot of the times, whenever you get players that are released, you kind of like expect it, right? It's like one of those like, oh well, this guy wasn't doing all that great anyway, so why not? Like let's get rid of him, especially if they've only got one more year left on their contract. You kind of just let them play out that contract. You don't release them right before the end of the contract. Joey Bosa gets released by the Chargers. The move is going to save the Chargers $25 million. And it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm trying to make it make sense of, maybe the Chargers, they just need something better. They're going to go out and get someone on the defensive line. Obviously, that's what they have to try to do. But it just doesn't seem like it's a smart move, right? Like Tommy Cananza saying, Joey Bosa, come on down to Dallas. Like, yeah, I'm down. I don't feel like Joey Bosa is going to be a free agent very long unless it's him that wants to be the free agent for as long as he wants to be a free agent. The Chargers doing this makes me question what the hell is going on with that team, with that franchise, because they were a playoff contending team. I think that they're not as good as Denver is, but they're still a team that's going to make the playoffs, right? Like they'll be alternating between Denver and them as the second best team in the AFC West. We can all agree no matter what happens, it's more than likely always going to be Kansas City in the next couple of years as the number one team in the AFC West. All you got to do is make it to the dance, right? Like that's all they're asking you to do is just make it to the dance. Jim Harbaugh gets there, turns Justin Herbert into a game managing type of quarterback, and he has one of the most successful seasons he's ever had, does Justin Herbert. But their defense was their calling card. Their defense is what won them games, is what made them a relevant team. And I get it, like the pushback is, well, Joey Bosa missed what, or has only played in 28 games over the last 4 years. Okay, yeah, but he played in 14 last year, and he made the Pro Bowl last year, and he's been doing a great job if you compare it to what have you done for me lately, which is what the league always comes down to, right? What have you done for me lately? I assure you, at 29 years old, Joey Bosa isn't washed, right? Like Joey Bosa can still go out there with a halfway decent defense, and I feel get double-digit sacks. If Joey Bosa joined the Dallas Cowboys, like Tommy Cananza says, that is a game-changing type of player that has joined the Dallas Cowboys that makes their defensive line that much better. The terrifying thought here is that Joey Bosa has said that he is really, really, really wanting to play with his brother, Nick Bosa, in San Francisco. And if that happens, I feel bad for the NFC West. Like everything in the NFC West is going to be ran through San Francisco. But again, we said that last year, and San Francisco just didn't live up to the hype, right? What happens with the Rams? The Rams were the best team in the NFC West this past season. Are they actually going to trade Matt Stafford? Like, what's going to be the future here for the Rams? Seattle, DK Metcalf wanting to get a trade. Like, it seems like the wheels are falling off in Seattle. Arizona, no one trusts the Cardinals. The 49ers are more than likely going to be the team. All they need is a little consistency, and they can win that division with a 9-8 record. I genuinely believe that. If they were to get Joey Bosa alongside Nick Bosa, it would be a nightmarish scenario for the NFC West and for the NFC. Jaime Pinkman saying, didn't the Cowboys just give a big contract to one of their defensive linemen? They have the money to spend. I wouldn't call it a big contract. Like, obviously, it's weird to say that a $80 million contract isn't a big contract, but it only, like, the AAV is $20 million a year, right? So it's kind of like a middle of the road contract when it comes down to these things. Now, the question is, and that's a great question there, do they have the money to spend? And the answer to that is no. Unless you start restructuring deals, right? And that's what they're going to have to do with Dak Prescott. Zach Martin's retirement is going to open up a little bit of money for the Dallas Cowboys as well, but they're going to have to be shifty in a way, and I don't know if shifty is the word that I want to say, but they're going to have to find a way to navigate through if they're going to sign any free agents, not just Joey Bosa, but any free agents. But to me, if there's a free agent that you're going to break the bank for, I don't know if it's Joey Bosa, right? Like, I feel like you could probably get Joey Bosa off of one of those middle contracts, just like what you gave to sorry, to Odigizua, right? Like, but Joey Bosa being on the Dallas Cowboys would be a game changer. Now, I don't think he's going to go to the Dallas Cowboys. I have a fear that he's going to wind up going to the Commanders because they have a ton of money. They have a lot of space. They need help on their defensive line. They're not going to get Myles Garrett because Cleveland isn't going to trade Myles Garrett, because if Cleveland trades Myles Garrett, it hurts them so much more, not just with the fans, but financially than anything else. So I'm terrified of the prospect of Joey Bosa either goes to San Francisco or Joey Bosa winds up going to Washington with the Commanders and winds up having a phenomenal career there where he's just beating the hell out of Dak Prescott twice a year. But it makes me wonder, Joey Bosa is going to be a coveted free agent. Right, like there's no question about this. He's 29 years old, coming off of a Pro Bowl season. He's second all time for the Los Angeles Chargers. He's second all time in sacks. He's been in the league 9 years, so you're getting a veteran presence. And I feel like being released is going to get him hungry to where he's going to want to he's going to have that chip on his shoulder, right? The issue is going to be injuries. And if you have been injured for the majority of the last 4 years after you sign your big contract, then I don't think you're going to maximize what your value is. I think he goes for like a 1 or a 2-year deal, maybe a player option somewhere in there to another team that's out there. But would you be surprised? Oh God, the thought just crossed my mind. What if he goes to Philadelphia? Because Philadelphia has cap space. Philadelphia is a champion. If I'm Joey Bosa, I'm trying to go to like a contender, right? Maybe I go to Kansas City. Kansas City could use some help. Could you imagine that Chris Jones and Joey Bosa on the same defensive line? Jesus Christ, man. But you got to think about teams that are going to have a lot of money, right? Like Denver is going to have a ton of money coming up that's going to free up in salary cap space for them. Chicago, that wouldn't be a bad spot for him. You got a young team, a young quarterback, but obviously he wants to more than likely go to a team that's ready to win now. You thought you had that with the Chargers. But it seems like even though they made the playoffs last year, like they kind of took a step back with like Justin Herbert, right? Because Justin Herbert was a guy that all of us are saying that's going to be a dude that's an MVP candidate all the time. And it just seems like they kind of took a little bit of a step back in his progress. And they don't have a lot of weapons on offense. And it's all about the defense there because despite Jim Harbaugh being a former quarterback, he's a defensive guy, which is kind of weird given his background, right? The Chargers have become a run-first offense, but it just feels like Denver got so much better, a lot quicker than people thought they were going to get. Bo Nix seems to be the guy. It's just it's such a weird move to me from the Chargers. Like, unless they know something we don't know, I don't see what it is that they're doing. And if they're trying to get in the sweepstakes to maybe trade for Myles Garrett and they're saying, hey, we got to get rid of a lot of money because we're going to have financial considerations as a part of the trade, then maybe that's what they're trying to do. But I don't see a scenario. That's right. Philadelphia's cap went down because they just made Saquon the highest paid running back in NFL history. Congrats to him. Well deserved. Very well deserved. Tommy, thank you for that correction right there. The Cowboys have $54 million in cap space. I guess, damn it. I'm so torn with this team. I genuinely am. Like, I know if they're healthy, they might be a fringe playoff team last year, right? Like, might be. They were already a fringe playoff team. Screw it. We're going all in, guys. I know yesterday I was saying 0-17, give it to me like I was Batista. I'm a fan. I will never, ever deny the fact that I'm a fan. Dallas, go out and get Joey Bosa. Go out and get Stephon Diggs while you're at it. Like you got enough money to get those guys. Sign Micah Parsons to a long-term deal, and let's just see what happens. Draft offensive line, nothing but offensive line in the draft. Like I just want offensive line, defensive line. That's all they get in the draft, just the line. And we'll see how it goes. Depth. That's all you need is depth. Warm bodies. That's all you need. Because what you had last year on the defensive line was not warm bodies. I hate them. Like I hate that I love this damn team because they're so bipolar, right? Like I know what bipolar is, and I'm sitting here just well, it's not even that you're a bad influence, Tommy. It's just like I just want like the people to shut up. You know what I mean? Like I saw these things the other day. It was like John Cena went 23 years as a good guy and then turns heel before the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl. And like all the championships and nonsense that John Cena won, which if you didn't watch Elimination Chamber, you're missing out. You got to start watching wrestling, even if it's just the pay-per-views or the PLEs, as they're called, premium live events. I'm a fan. I'll always be a fan of this team. I hate that I love them, but I'll always be a fan of this team. And that's either win it all or lose everything. That I don't want this purgatory that we've been in for 30 years to continue. I feel like we whatever it is that we did, whatever bad things we did in a previous life, I feel like we've paid for. Please. Just please. If you're there. But it's just come on, man. I see the money, and again, Tommy, you know where I'm at right now. If you're not going to spend the money, don't restructure Dak's deal. Keep it where it is. Because now, after this season, you start getting yourself a little bit of financial fluid, right? You can start changing some things up. You're not going to be able to trade Dak, so that should always be out of the picture. You're not going to release Dak because it's going to hurt your franchise exponentially more than if you kept him financially, that is. Get through this season, but either win everything or lose everything. I don't want this middle of the road team. And Tommy, they're more than likely going to go 13-4, 14-3, and lose in the first damn round of the playoffs. Like, I feel like that's just our destiny, right? Like that's where we belong, is the team that does really well or really bad, but always loses in the playoffs, no matter what. First round of the playoffs. A home game to like the team that limped into the playoffs, that's where the Dallas Cowboys will lose. I genuinely hate that I love this team. Genuinely hate that I love this team. They're the reason why I put bourbon in my coffee in the morning. That's a joke. It's a joke. Never mind the fact that there's bottles of bourbon and they seem to be getting lower and lower every day. Tommy can also saying, but at least we get Bosa. You know what? I don't want to do this today. I don't. Oh, God. Here we go. You know what, Dallas Cowboys? Taking off the glasses so we can get serious. All right. Here we go. I probably should have brought in one of my Dallas Cowboys hats. Damn it. I don't have one over there. Okay. Here we go. We're going to get serious real quick. The Los Angeles Chargers releasing Joey Bosa opens up the door for the Dallas Cowboys, who have $54 million in salary cap space now, to be able to go out and target one of the most coveted free agents and help out their defensive line. Yes, they gave Odigizua $80 million just a couple of days ago. But what you get with Joey Bosa is adding depth and athleticism to a defensive line that got ran over repeatedly as we've seen over the last couple of years. The Dallas Cowboys, in order for their franchise to be successful in the 2025 season, need to sign Joey Bosa more than we need oxygen to breathe. The Dallas Cowboys need to pull the trigger on this move, and Jerry Jones needs to show that with just a little Blue Chew and some Cialis, he can go all in and get back to his glory hole. Jesus Christ. Oh, can you get fired from a job that you're the boss of? I feel like I should fire myself. But there you go, Jerry Jones. That's what you need to do. I'm going to cut that up. That'll be my clip of the day. We're at what 20 minutes mark is what that was. So that'll be the clip of the day. Jerry Jones and Cialis. A visual that everybody needed. It's a Thursday morning, couple days away from spring break. We're limping into the weekend. We got this, y'all. We got this. We're making it. We're making it all the way through. I just got a message right now from the VA telling me that I have an appointment that I need to be on. And then I checked the date and it said on the 11th of March. I'm trying to figure out why the hell they would send me that message right now. Woosah. Woosah. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. I'm in, Tommy. I'm in. I can't fight it anymore. I cannot just sit here and be disappointed in the Dallas Cowboys guy. If they have the money, they have the ability to do it, then they need to spend the money. And if they can go out and get Joey Bosa, it helps the team so much more than what it possibly could have done if I hadn't have changed my mind on this. Now, obviously, character-wise, I think I'll still ride the character just to piss people off of like, let's go 0-17. I need it. I need the 0-17. Again, win it all or go 0-17. I don't want to be the team that loses in the first round of the playoffs. I don't want to be the team that loses in the Super Bowl because that means absolutely nothing, despite the fact that people take it as a moral victory like, oh my God, my team made it to the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. Win it all or win nothing at all. Isn't that a song? I want it all or nothing at all. I don't even know where that song is, who sings that song, any of that. All in 2025. Jesus. Oh my God, I'm a horrible, horrible human being. I'll leave it up to y'all. Should I say what went through my mind right now? Because I feel like Roku would not be happy with that conversation. That's the best part about, like, I can only imagine for the people that are new to this, right? And if you are new, thank you. Stick around. It's an acquired taste. That's all I can say. We don't take it so seriously here. So if you want to just, relax, take it a little different. I will also slip up every now and again, and I apologize profusely to my friends at Roku and say some out-of-pocket stuff. I don't have the filter that everyone else has. Sometimes it just comes out. And you'll see in my face that I regret saying it as it was being said. But that's me, the acquired taste that is Mike Tipton. My glasses are filthy right now, and I actually cleaned them not too long ago. So that's and I don't mean not too long ago, like days. I mean like right before the show started. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just a dirty effing dude. Anyway, moving on. Alex Ovechkin yesterday scores a goal. Now he's 9 goals away from tying Wayne Gretzky's record here. 885 goals is where Alex Ovechkin is right now. And for so long, people thought that that was one of those unbreakable records that's out there, right? And we can talk about unbreakable records all the time, like Wilt Chamberlain scoring 100 points. That'll never, ever happen again. Like, I know Kobe got close with 81. That's still 19 points away, but it seems insurmountable. Like, even in today's NBA, where teams are putting up a combined 400 points, it seems impossible for someone to be able to score 100 points in one game. With that being said, though, can you definitely say no to that? Right? Like, can you definitely say no that no one's going to be able to score 100 points? I don't think you can. Right? Like, I know there's going to be a ton of people out there that are like, Mike, that's sacrilege. Wilt Chamberlain is Wilt Chamberlain and blah, 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 blah. Right? And that's fine. But I don't think you could definitively say that no one's going to get to 100 points. Some of the records that are out there, I think Wilt Chamberlain's averaging 50 points in a season, that'll never get touched, right? James Harden is in second place there. He's the guy that's like most likely that would have been able to do it. And his peak was 36 points a game. And that was him getting to the free throw line and making 30 free throws a game. Wilt Chamberlain's averaging 50 points a season, that'll never get touched. I think Bill Russell and the Celtics winning 11 championships, that will never get touched, right? Like, obviously, that's team success, but the individual records that are out there. LeBron James getting to 50,000 points, I don't think that'll happen again either, right? Like, the longevity it took, the consistency it took, the amount of points that it took. Imagine if he actually played every game, right? And didn't have a lot of load management there in the middle of his career, where his point mark would be. That'll never get touched. Emmitt Smith, I think, has the most unbreakable record in sports. Even though we've seen a shift in the value of running backs, the longevity of running backs isn't there anymore, right? Emmitt Smith's 18,355 yards, rushing yards, is 7,000 more yards than Derrick Henry has right now, who's the active leader in the NFL. 7,000 more yards than what Derrick Henry has right now. Saquon Barkley would need another 2,000-yard season to even get in the realm of possibility of being in Emmitt Smith's league as far as all-time rushing yards go, right? Like, what Emmitt Smith did, the longevity that he had in his career, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, he's not the greatest of all time, it's Barry Sanders, whatever, right? The fact that he did it consistently, he even did it in Arizona with the Cardinals looking weird as all hell in that uniform. 18,355 yards will not be touched, right? And conversely with that, you have Jerry Rice's 22,895 yards receiving. That'll never be touched. DeAndre Hopkins, the current leader right now, 10,000 yards away. It will never happen, ever happen, breaking those two records, right? Because football, I think, is a game where we care the most about. Oh, I don't even know. Can you really say it's football? Like, I think baseball still has that, right? Like, where we care about records in baseball more than we care about records in any other sport. I don't think anyone cares about basketball records anymore. If I'm just being honest, right? Like, I think the game has been so distorted from what it was a lot of us grew up watching that we don't necessarily care about records. Wins and losses don't really mean anything to us anymore either. Championships don't really mean anything to us anymore either. And the only reason why I say that is because, again, going back to yesterday's conversation, we will constantly try to discredit LeBron James for what he's done because he's not Michael Jordan, despite the fact statistically being better in every single way, right? And I'm the same way. I said it yesterday. I'm guilty of this. LeBron is the greatest athlete that there ever was, but he's not Michael Jordan, right? Like, the greatest competitor that there ever was will always be Michael Jordan. The records in basketball, I just don't think mattered anymore. Unless, again, of course, like I said, it's a Wilt Chamberlain 50 points a game per season, and it was 50.4 points a game per season. That's not going to get touched, right? James Harden had the 36 point per game season. That's still 14 points a game less, right? If you averaged 14 points a game in the NBA, you'd have yourself a hell of a career, right? You probably wouldn't be a Hall of Famer, but you'd have yourself a hell of a career, and everyone would like you. You'd be a serviceable player. You'd be one of those role players that some kid one day is like, "Oh yeah, that guy. I remember that guy," and he brings a smile to my face whenever I think about him. Right? Like for me, it's guys like John Sally that I think about, Antoine Carr that I think about, like those middle of the road guys. James Harden had their career or could add their career and still not equal what Wilt Chamberlain did when he averaged 50 points a game. And I get it. Y'all are going to come back at me. A lot of people will, because this is a weird thing that people do. And they'll say, Wilt Chamberlain played against plumbers and blah, 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 right? Imagine if Wilt Chamberlain had the science and the technology behind him to have played in today's game. He would still be an absolutely unstoppable force. Not a doubt in my mind. He was able to do what he did in Converse made in the 1950s and 60s. If you've ever played basketball in a pair of Converse, and trust me, I have, because I remember middle school vividly where all I wanted was Converse, and I went out and bought a pair of Converse, and I played basketball in them because I thought I was going to be Dr. J, and my foot came out of the side of them, and that was the end of those Converse after like 2 weeks of playing basketball with them. Not to mention the amount of blisters I had on my feet from doing that. Now, put it back into the 1950s with the lack of knowledge that they had back then. And I know Wilt was more 1960s. Don't get on me for that. But go back to their time. The lack of training preparation, the lack of all the things that they had to do in order to be players like they are today. Do not discount a man scoring 50 points a game or even 100 points in a single game because of who he was playing against. Because he was playing against Bill Russell and those 11-time champion Celtics, right? And I get it, back then there was only 10 teams, but to me that means the talent was more concentrated. I just hate the argument where we talk about generation versus generation, right? Where people are like, Babe Ruth wouldn't be able to survive in today's game. I don't think players would be able to survive in Babe Ruth's game, right? Where like you actually had to bat and get on base, right? Like Babe Ruth retiring with a 363 batting average. Who here now would even be able to bat 363? Your leadoff guy doesn't even bat 363. And those weird ass stadiums like the Polo Grounds that had 500-foot center fields, like, come on now. Now you got like the cookie cutter box, everything looks the same. Come on now. And a lot of these guys want to be able to put up the numbers that Babe Ruth did. A lot of these guys want to be able to put up the numbers that Wilt Chamberlain did. But if you brought them into the future, imagine if you brought Babe Ruth into the future and told him, no. You only smoke cigars in the offseason. You drink whiskey in the offseason. Whatever you do in the offseason is up to you. But during the regular season, just focus on baseball. Here's a ton of money so you don't have to go out doing all these things. Babe Ruth would be amazing, right? Like Barry Bonds, you put him back in the day, he's amazing. Ken Griffey Jr., he's amazing. Aaron Judge, I don't think so, right? Like Giancarlo Stanton, I don't think so. Anyway, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just some guy. Speaking of old-timey baseball players, another record that's going to be absolutely unbreakable. And I say this with all the conviction in the world because I know it will never happen. This will never, ever be unbroken, right? And this is where baseball, or be broken rather, and this is where baseball, because of how old the game is, runs all of the history stuff. Complete games. The current active leader in complete games is Justin Verlander of the San Francisco Giants, which I hope you're happy with that. Justin Verlander has 26 complete games. And whenever he was doing this was really early in his career where he felt like he was an unstoppable pitcher because he felt like he got stronger as the game went on. 26 complete games. That is your active leader right now. Cy Young had 749. So he had 723 more complete games than Justin Verlander did. Now, granted, this is back whenever pitchers pitched, I want to say every third day. I think there was only 3-man rotations. So, yeah, he got a lot more chances. But his arm should have fell off by the time all of this was done. 700 complete games. There's pitchers out there that won't even pitch 700 total games. And he had 749 complete games. That right there, I think it's going to be a lot of like Cy Young stuff, right? Like Cy Young's all-time wins. I think he's got 500 wins. That'll never be broken. Nolan Ryan's 5,000 career strikeouts. That'll never be broken. The Boston Celtics winning 8 straight championships, right? I don't think that'll be broken, despite the fact that yesterday we were talking about the Chicago Bulls really had a chance to have done that, right? In the early 90s, they really had a chance where they could have done that, breaking the all-time record of the Boston Celtics 8 straight championships. Simone Biles and her 30 Olympic gold medals, that'll never be broken. Like, right? Individual awards, that'll never be broken. Anything Serena Williams has done, that'll never be broken. I love unbreakable records, especially the older they are, because it just means, yes, I get it. You know, they weren't playing against the best. They didn't have the best technology. You can see, Babe Ruth's batting stance was super weird, and it was just like he put the ball out there and all that stuff. And they said that Walter Johnson was the fastest throwing pitcher in baseball at the time. And this is back whenever they measured, like, instead of miles per hour, it was feet per second. And whenever they converted his miles per hour to feet per second, because he actually went out, this is how much of a nerd I am, guys. Walter Johnson in the 1910s went into a radar area to throw a baseball, and they clocked it at, I want to say it was like 102 feet per second is what it came out to. And whenever you convert that to miles an hour, and he was the hardest throwing pitcher back then, it was only 82 miles an hour, right? So that shows you the difference in like what we have now versus what they had back then. But they still didn't, like, they had literal pieces of like tree, right? Like I go out, I carve a tree, and that becomes my baseball bat. Like the things they had to play with back then, it wasn't even like a ball. It was like a rock covered in twine, and let me toss that at you with a bunch of spit and a bunch of other crap on it, so it tries to blind you while it's rotating and heading your way. There's a part of me that wishes I can go back in time and watch those old-timey baseball games where they have, like, those weird windups and stuff, and they come all the way back like that, and they launch it at a weird arm angle, and they do all kinds of weird stuff. But it must have worked, right? Like, Cy Young got to have 749 complete games, which is just egregious. I think another one that won't be broken, we're going back to baseball here, is Cal Ripken Jr.'s streak of 2,632 consecutive games. That's just an asinine number, especially now with like load management, with guys not wanting to play back-to-back games. I didn't get to join yesterday because I had a bunch of BS pop up. I didn't get to join the National Professional Sports Show yesterday, but last week, whenever I was on, we were talking about load management in the NBA, right? Like Bo Crouch and I, we were talking about load management in the NBA. And it was, I can't play back-to-back games, even though you're paying me millions of dollars to play these games. And I sit back and I think about it with baseball too, right? Baseball has the most grueling schedule of any sport that's out there. 162 regular season games. I could understand missing a couple, right? I don't want to say it a couple is like 2, missing a few games, just because you got to try to let your body rest, right? You land, you play 3 days, you take off and land, and you play 3 days, and sometimes you don't even get a day off in between the plane trips. It's just back to back to back to back to back, right? Minor league baseball, a little different, But Major League Baseball, where you're taking off land and play, take off land, play, take off land, play, take off land, play, day off, take off land, play, it becomes a lot. So I can understand people missing games here and there. Now, put that in perspective of it was collectively bargained to have the amount of games missed that they have now, right? Where like you have travel days every now and again in your schedule. This is before, like Cal Ripken Jr.'s streak was before all that. Playing all of those games. And I'll have to do the math here. I probably should have done it before I got on the show, but I'll do the math here real quick. 2632 divided by 162 equals 16 and a quarter seasons of not missing a game. 16 and a quarter seasons of not missing a game. You will not find that in any sport, even golf, where we're hitting a golf ball. And yes, I have a lot of respect for golfers out there. It's one of the toughest things I've ever tried to pick up. I'm still not good at it. It's frustrating to me. But even with golf, where you play 4 days out of the week, and sometimes you only play that one tournament in the month, you have guys that miss a lot of tournaments, right? Like it's just my body needs to catch up to what it is that I'm doing. And all I'm doing is walking. Now make it baseball, where yeah, there's sliding, there's this and that. He was a third baseman, so he was on the hog, and a shortstop, so he was in like the most athletic positions that you have on the baseball field. He had to do a lot, and yet still somehow in 16 and a quarter seasons never missed a game. That's just, whenever you look at it like that, like the 2,632, it sounds like a lot. But whenever you say he never missed a game in more than 16 seasons, that is just mind blowing to me, man. Absolutely mind blowing to me. Another one that's out there, the Yukon Huskies women's basketball 111 game win streak. Enough said, right? You win 111 straight games, you've done some stuff. Michael Phelps, 28 Olympic medals. Katie Ledecky, right now, one of the most decorated Olympians out there, she has 14 Olympic medals, which is, again, just insane. And then one of my favorite ones, baseball. I'm so ready for the baseball season. I wonder if my guy Danny Hoban can join me. Danny is in Tucson right now, and he was covering the World Baseball Classic qualifiers that they had in Tucson, which is kind of strange to me that they have him in Tucson. You could have had him here in El Paso. I think that would have been fun. Put him in minor league stadiums, not in cities that don't have baseball stadiums. Put them in minor league stadiums. I think that'd be great to watch. But it was Japan, Germany, Chile, and I want to say Argentina were the teams that he was covering yesterday. I want to see if he can come on to talk about this with baseball real quick. Again, probably should have done this before the show starts. Okay, there we go. Sorry for the silence. But another really unbreakable record is going to be Ricky Henderson. Rest in peace to Ricky Henderson, who just passed away not too long ago. 1,406 stolen bases for his career. Active leader right now is Starling Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks, who I got to see last year, with 354. Almost 1,000 or over 1,000 stolen bases away from Ricky Henderson's record, right? If you were to break up Ricky Henderson's career into two, you would have two Hall of Famers. It's just like Tom Brady, right? Just like Tom Brady, where you break up Tom Brady's career into threes, you have three different Hall of Fame careers. That's what Ricky Henderson had, was two Hall of Fame careers. And getting 1,400 stolen bases, that will never, ever happen again in Major League Baseball history. It's just something that will never be able to happen. All right. So that's enough with the Unbreakable records. The title of today's show was Can You Tell If a Team Isn't Really Trying? Right? Because we look at that all the time, especially in the world of sports, and we'll say that team quit on the coach or that team quit on the field or that team did this and blah 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 blah, right? Can you genuinely tell if a team isn't trying? And the reason why I bring this up is because the Seattle Mariners have a former first baseman named Justin Turner who went after ownership of the Seattle Mariners yesterday, saying that they were unwilling to spend money and adding offensive talent. A lot of teams have been dormant in the offseason in baseball, not spending a ton of money, not like the Yankees, not like the Mets. The Mets spent over $1 billion in contracts for players out there, right? If you're the Seattle Mariners, you know you don't have the money to compete with those teams. So for me, I understand why you would have the perception of being frugal, right? Like there's a few teams, the haves and the have-nots is so much more, the gulf is so much wider in baseball than it is in the other sports because of the lack of a salary cap, right? Great job on the Major League Baseball Players Union to be able to stop or to negotiate not having a salary cap, but eventually baseball is going to have a salary cap to keep the game a little more competitive. Seattle doesn't go out, doesn't spend any money, and they're trying to run it back, right? It took an epic collapse last season for the Seattle Mariners to miss the playoffs, and they missed the playoffs by one game. They had the best pitching staff in baseball. Armed with that information, if you lose a first baseman in Justin Turner, who was batting like 210, who's not really getting on the field, and you have a guy like Justin Turner who's no longer on your team, and he's like, are you even trying to win? The question can be turned around and pointed back at Justin Turner of, are you trying to win? When you're batting 210, who are you to talk about another team's trying, right? Because are you even trying if you're batting 210? That's what I hate about where baseball is now, right? It's a feast or famine type sport. Home run, walk, strikeout. That's all baseball has become. And it's so difficult to watch now, right? I never would have thought that I'd say these words, and maybe it's me being old and becoming get off my lawn guy now, but I am tired of watching baseball and thinking to myself, why don't you lay down a bunt there? They have the shift on, you could hit the ball that way, right? Like it's just a weird thing with me, this love-hate relationship that I've had with baseball. But when you have a guy like Justin Turner come out and say, is the team even trying to win? While you're batting 210, just seems asinine to me. And I ask that question sincerely, right? Like, can we tell if a team is genuinely trying to win or is if team is genuinely trying to lose games? We see it all the time on the football field, right? Like we'll always say, oh, the team quit on their coach or the team did this and that, right? Like the Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving, whenever Eberflus was coming up with these weird plays, and it was obvious that it was time for Eberflus, who's now with the Dallas Cowboys, that it was time for him to be gone. But was it the team quitting on the coach or was it the team just not having the talent to do something? You know what I mean? Last year, Seattle misses the playoffs by a single game. It's baseball's playoffs is so much harder to get into than the other sports playoff systems are. Seattle, I think, running it back when you have the best pitching staff in baseball, you trust your pitching staff. You win with pitching. In the regular season, maybe not, but in the postseason, you definitely do. And all you have to do is get to the dance. Do you trust that the Texas Rangers, the Houston Astros, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and the now homeless Athletics, I can't even say Oakland Athletics, they're just the Athletics now, not even the Sacramento Athletics, are those teams better than Seattle? And if I'm Seattle, I'm saying no, they're not. So that means I've got an easy walk in 162 games to make it to the playoffs and hopefully make some noise with my incredible pitching staff that is going to be able to shut teams down. You don't have to, at least not in my mind, spend a ton of money in baseball to be successful. We've seen the Tampa Bay Rays do it a bunch of times. And I know the argument's going to be, well, the last two teams that were in the World Series this past year were the Yankees, which is, yes, my favorite team, and the Dodgers, which is, yes, a team I really effing hate, going head to head with each other because they have enormous payrolls. I will counter that by saying one of the teams that was left out was the New York Mets. And the Mets had a hell of a terrible season last year. They got hot at the right time, limped into the playoffs, and made a little bit of noise. Wind up getting slapped around by the Dodgers, and now we know how baseball goes in its way. But the Mets have consistently been one of the highest spending teams in baseball since Steve Cohen bought the team. I want to say in 2019 or in 2020. I'm trying to debate on what year it was that he actually bought the team. But since he's bought the team, he's done nothing but spend, hoping to win a championship. I think this is, it had to be 2020 because he said 5 years they were going to win a World Series. This is year number 5. They go all in with Juan Soto. They give him a $700 million deal, which just blows my mind that you can get paid $700 million to play baseball. I got to get my boys into baseball. Jesus. But the Mets have spent a ton of money, and they haven't been successful. We've seen the Yankees, especially those, mid-2000 Yankees teams, being the highest payroll in sports, not winning championships. The last few years with the Red Sox, spending a ton of money, not being good enough to even win your division or make it into the extended playoffs that baseball has now. It ain't about spending money that makes a team good. If you have already on your roster the best pitching staff in baseball, why do you need to go out and add a bat? When you know you can just shut guys down. And I don't mean like just the starting rotation. I mean from the starters to the middle relievers to the long relievers to your setup man to your closer. The Seattle Mariners have the best pitching staff in baseball. There is not a weakness on that pitching staff. And yes, you can look at that team and say, there's going to be guys that wind up being better, that can be better than what they were last year, right? Maybe the exodus of Justin Turner is going to give another first baseman a chance to actually be better. Maybe they're better defensively because Justin Turner was not that great for them on defense. Maybe you can go out and find a guy that can bat higher than 210. That's already in your system. The minor league system for a lot of teams is what makes baseball so different than the other sports, right? Is you don't have to necessarily go out and get a ton of guys. And maybe I'll look this up real quick. Where does the Seattle Mariners minor league system rank? Sorry for the quietness here. And there you go. There you go. They are the number 1 minor league system in baseball. Why would you go out and spend money when all you have to do is call dudes up? Right? And obviously, if you know that you have a pool of players that you could just bring up that are probably going to be just as good, if not that good. Oh, wow. Danny is dealing with some stuff right now. Wow. Wasn't expecting to read that message. Best of luck to you, Danny. Hopefully, we'll record something a little bit later on today so that we can tell people about what's going on with the Arizona Diamondbacks spring training. Danny's been going to a few of those games. And, of course, the World Baseball Classic qualifiers. Guys, I love me some baseball, okay? I know, again, it's sacrilege to say I love basketball more than I love football. Tommy has been angry about that as well. Yeah, the message I got from Danny, it is worth the eyes emoji. Oh, my God. But if you have the number 1 minor league system, you don't need to go out and spend a ton of money in free agency because there will be someone out there who's going to be available. like, oh, I don't know, of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And if you have the prospects in your farm system that you can just send out to another team, now you don't have to worry about spending a ton of money in free agency because you have assets that you can either move up, that you can call up to the team, or that you can move out and bring other players to the team. It's such an asinine question for a first baseman to ask, are you even trying? When the team missed the playoffs by a single game, he was batting 210 and was a strikeout machine for them. And when the team has the number one minor league system in baseball, it's a ridiculous ass question. But if you look at it from the outside looking in, you would sit there and say to yourself, well, they spent no money in the offseason. Clearly, they're not trying to win. But there's so much gray area between, do you need to spend a ton of money or do you have assets that can wind up bringing you dividends in the future? I spent more time on that than what I wanted to. I am sorry, guys. I was supposed to get to the NFC South. I will talk about the NFC South tomorrow. I promise you that. We'll talk about what it is that the Bengals, the Panthers, not the Bengals, sorry, the Buccaneers, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints need. Just talking about those teams, those four teams right there that I mentioned, makes me want to throw up and makes my coffee taste bad. It is garbage upon garbage upon garbage. The NFC South is the landfill of the NFL. Maybe that's why I spent so much time talking about baseball today. I just didn't want to smell the rotting garbage that is known as the NFC South. I appreciate y'all for tuning into today's show. We will be live once again tomorrow. It's also Friday, so I'll put out a thing on social media. Ask me some of the fan questions as well. It's a TIP VIP Friday. We're going to be launching that now. I actually worked on like a whole opener and stuff like that too. I've been doing behind the scenes stuff, guys. Look how crazy that is. It's me and my spaceship, and that's all we've got. Visit my friends over at W Energy, W.GG. Use the promo code Tipton Sports. Save yourself up to 10% on all of their energy drinks and energy powders and things like that. Trust me when I say this, you don't get the jitters, you don't start shaking, you don't do any of that stuff. You feel better, you're more focused. W Energy is a fantastic product. And of course, go visit my Instagram page at Mr. Tipton33 and check out the new product that I'm partnering with, Cleverman NY on Instagram. Some great products for your beard. The male grooming stuff. I'm all about male grooming, guys. Take care of yourselves, not just for yourself, but for that special person in your life, because you don't want to be a stank ass, hairy ass, gross, grotesque individual. Just take care of yourself. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow.